Hey everyone, this is Scruffy from Stormfate.com. Today again, we are going to take a look into our 6th guide of the Dragonflight Mythic Plus on the beta, Temple of the Jade Serpent. We walk you through the whole dungeon and explain all the important cues for the 6th out of 8 dungeons from Dragonflight Mythic Plus Season 1. But before we start, I would love as always to ask you to give this video a like or dislike, smash the subscribe button and visit our guide website, Stormfate.com. And without further ado, let's hop into the Temple of Jade Serpent. This is the 3rd out of 4 old dungeons making their comeback in Dragonflight Mythic Plus Season 1, and oh boy, this one caught us off guard. Temple of the Jade Serpent has seen many interesting changes, but still keeping its old charm. In the beginning, you can either choose to go left to Wise Mari or right to Lawwalker Stonestab. You have to defeat both before you can proceed further into the dungeon. We go left first, but your run might differ. In front of the Wise Mari, you will find trash packs containing Fallen Water Speaker. These will attack random players with Hydro Lance to deal moderate damage, but can be interrupted. Make sure to definitely interrupt Tidal Burst. This deals heavy damage to all party members if not interrupted. Corrupt Living Water do no longer spawn 4 little ads when defeated, but they now spawn a Surging Deluge? Deluge?
Surging Deluge.
A Void Zone which explodes for heavy damage under a random player. Wise Mari also has seen many changes. The whole first phase has been removed and now you deal with the boss immediately. Corrupted Geyser makes the water splash up, dealing damage to all players who are standing in the water. This is indicated by 3 small splashes before it splashes a final time and deal damage to players in the water. Hydro Lance is a tank specific mechanic, dealing damage to the tank but can be interrupted or even spell reflect. Wash Away is also making its comeback, but this one has seen some interesting changes. First, the looks. Everything looks more sinister than it was during Mr. Pandaria, but the new Wash Away is more deadly than ever before. Wise Mari uses it for around about 10 seconds, spinning faster than ever before and dealing almost deadly damage to players hit. Blizzard has now changed its ability to no longer avoid line of sight, which could potentially allow players to hide from it on the stairs, but we couldn't test it yet. Corrupted Vortex is a new ability, applying a debuff to a random player which drops a Void Zone on the floor after 6 seconds. Make sure to position these away from the middle to have a clear path whenever Wise Mari uses Wash Away. After you defeated Wise Mari, run back to the entrance and proceed to Lawwalker Stonestab. The little Haunting Shars still do a laser beam towards the tank, but this now finally has a cast bar in comparison to its old version. They now also cast Haunting Scream, hearing all players for 6 seconds if not interrupted. Other trash bombs here work pretty similar. The Talking Fish attacks random players with Bubble Spray. The Songbird Queen now creates a circle around her and deals damage to players in a 5 yards radius with Territorial Display. Golden Beetle still deals heavy damage to the tank with Serrated Slash. The next boss is very similar to the old version. We were not able to encounter the Champion of the 5 Suns events, and it's not even listed in the dungeon journal. We don't have confirmation yet if this is gone, but for now, we are only able to fight the Trial of the Yongol. We assume that this will remain, making all your runs through this dungeon consistent which boss you encounter. The Trial of the Yongol spawns 2 bosses, which will gain intensity whenever players attack them. This causes them to deal more damage per stack with the periodic damage to the group. In the 10 stacks, they become immune to damage for 15 seconds. Ignoring and not attacking them will grant them a stack of Dissipation, reducing the damage done by 10% per stack. New to this boss is a buff, Feeling of Superiority and Feeling of Inferiority, granting players randomly a buff or debuff. Feeling of Superiority increases players' damage by 25%, but they suffer damage every 2 seconds. This damage taken is increased by 10% for every second you have this buff. Feeling of Inferiority reduces damage and healing done by 5% only, and makes you immune to a Feeling of Superiority as long as it persists. Hazardous Thoughts is another debuff which applies to a random player, dealing damage and reducing their movement speed. After defeating both first bosses, the gates open to Leo Flameheart. You have to clear all enemies in order to activate the boss. These trash bombs received an overhaul. You will find Shard-Touched Guardians and Depraved Mistweavers on your way. Leg Sweep is a stun to all players within 6 yards and can only be interrupted by stuns. Depraved Mistweaver uses Defiling Mist, a channel which deals damage and can be interrupted. Touch of Ruin is a debuff on a random player, which creates a circle around the one player, which explodes after 6 seconds. Haunting Shars are the same as before, make sure to interrupt their Haunting Scream. Minions of Doubt spawn orbs on the floor with Shattering Resolve, which deals damage to players on impact. Make sure to walk out of them. Leo Flameheart has seen only one small change in the last phase, but we're still gonna explain the whole boss quickly. In the first phase, until 70%, she will use a combination of Serpent Strikes, Serpent Kick, and Serpent Wave. Serpent Strikes deals damage to the tank, and immediately afterwards she uses Serpent Kick, dealing damage to all players within 8 yards around her. After Serpent Kick, she uses Serpent Wave, spawning 4 waves of flames which travel away from her in 4 directions. When she reaches 70%, all 3 combo abilities transform into its Jade version. Jade Serpent Strike deals damage to the tank and additionally applies a healing absorb on the tank. Serpent Kick still deals damage to players within 8 yards around her, but now knocks players away as well. Jade Serpent Wave spawns green waves of fire, which leave a Void Zone on their path. Last phase starts at 30% when she spawns Yulon to fight for her. Usually, Yulon would only use Jadefire to deal damage to random players and leaving a void zone below that player. Make sure to pay attention to that void zone below you, it can be very difficult to see them due to their contrast with the floor. New to the Dragonflight version, it's its Jadefire breath, a frontal breath in the direction of a random player. After defeating Leo Flameheart, there are only 3 enemies left to defeat in this dungeon. Instead of the old school version with Minions of Doubt, you will face a pack of 3 mobs containing the hardest trash mobs of this dungeon together at the same time. Depraved Mistweaver still afflict players with Touch of Ruin, Shard-Touched Guardian will stun close players with Leg Sweep, and Fallen Water Speaker will wipe your group if her Tidal Burst is not interrupted. Jar of Doubt is the last boss and has not received any changes to its old version. Wither Will deals damage to 2 random players, which is unavoidable, so it has to be out here by the healer. Touch of Nothingness creates a circle around the player, which deals periodic damage to them and close players within 5 yards of them. And finally, Figment of Doubt, which causes the boss to become invulnerable for 20 seconds and spawn an ad out of every player. They fixate the player they spawned out of and need to be killed. At the end of the 20 seconds, the boss will explode with Gathering Doubt, dealing damage which increases more per ad that is alive and heals himself by 10% for each ad that was still alive at the end. So, Temple of Jade Serpent was very interesting. We really underestimated what Blizzard would do to this dungeon and expected this Temple of Jade Serpent to be the easiest dungeon. Instead, we got delivered a very well thought out dungeon that can become very, very juicy. Make sure to not underestimate this dungeon from Mr. Pandaria. Blizzard has been able to give this dungeon the new 2022 look, but still remaining the old charm of this dungeon. Let us know in the comments what you think about this dungeon making its comeback to the Dragonflight Mythic Plus Season 1, smash the like and subscribe button, and visit our guide website stormfate.com for even more dungeon, raid, class, or even profession guides.